All right, everybody, we just had some big news drop regarding the Pro Tour and Udisc Live. So this started with a Udisc post on X. It was from Udisc Live, actually, and they basically were announcing that the Pro Tour and them are parting ways for the upcoming season, which was very unexpected in my mind. They put out there, thank you to the Disc Golf Pro Tour as well as all the volunteers and many of our many partners and collaborators for 8 great seasons of UDisc Live. See you on the course. And they put in the entire statement there. They basically go on to mention that they're no longer be doing any of the statistics or graphics for the Pro Tour. They're going to keep around UDisc Live as kind of a database, moving forward. That's kind of what it's going to be, at least in the short term. And they're kind of just looking forward to other opportunities with the app. It definitely doesn't seem like that's something they're thrilled about. This is honestly a huge move here for the Pro Tour. And this post popped up first, and I was kind of like, okay, what's the Pro Tour's plan? Obviously, they want to bring this in-house. That seems like the plan. And then they come out with a press release right after, basically announcing their plan. And this is really interesting. So obviously, they are bringing it in-house. They're going to be kind of using a combination of PDGA Live and then Statmando is kind of who they're bringing together for this new platform. Now, this is going to raise some red flags because the PDGA Live platform has its host of issues. It's not a huge favorite among people. It's a very simple platform as well. And so that's not great. Statmando does a great thing in the sport. They obviously have an awesome stat website. So, there's some firepower there, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see if this team is going to be capable to match what UDisc has done, because UDisc, for the most part, has been one of the few entities in disc golf, at least on the side of live disc golf in the tour, that nobody really complains about. They do a great job. Sometimes there's scoring mistakes that can be chalked up to volunteers and lack of staffing in that regard, but that's just kind of unavoidable with their model. But ultimately, they're a beloved company in disc golf. So this is going to be really interesting to see how this is received amongst the public. There are a few angles to kind of look at this, but I think that the Pro Tour's press release kind of answers the main one, but I'll get to that in a second. So initially, you're thinking, okay, did they want to part ways with UDisc Live to save money? Was there a monetary exchange between the companies that they're cutting costs with? Or was this more about just wanting to not have as many third parties associated with them? Like, what's the reasoning? But then if you get down in the Pro Tour's press release, you kind of get a little insight into what they're doing. Because right at the end of the press release, they mentioned that they want the ability to have all of this data and these stats and to be able to license them to third parties for things such as fantasy and wagering apps. Now, this is a huge part here, because essentially owning that data could be very valuable. Fantasy disc golf and disc golf betting are two kind of sleeping giants at the moment. There's a lot of revenue to be made there as the sport grows. Those are huge in every other sport, and it hasn't really been explored to its fullest yet. But the Pro Tour being the ones owning that data that they're all going to need to perform, what could be very, very lucrative to them in the future. So I think this is more about them wanting to own all of the stats and data. Because if you think about it, UDisc mentioned okay, in the short term, we're going to keep our database up on UDisc Live with all of those stats. Like, the amount of information they have on there is incredibly valuable. I mean, it is a comprehensive history of the Pro Tour, essentially. And so I can understand why the Pro Tour wants to have this in their possession. Now, of course, the big question is, what is this product going to look like come the chess.com Open in late February? What are we going to be dealing with? Because UDisc Live, they have built a refined platform. Not only does it function well, it looks clean, it's easy to navigate, and it just does exactly what it's meant to do. You have clean live updates, a pleasant theme to look at. They've been able to monetize it without overdoing with the ads. They've effectively created an awesome website to use, and it's been great for fans. Everybody loves it. So this is going to be interesting to see if the PDGA Live and Statmando team can build something that even compares. And what it's looking like from the press release from the Pro Tour is what we're going to be getting, at least as of the first event of the season, is going to be more of a beta. They're kind of shying away from talking about a finished product here. They're really just saying they're going to roll it out, and then they're talking about a lot of future stuff. Now, this has obviously worked for the Pro Tour previously. They're not afraid to kind of put themselves out there. They did that with live coverage from the very get-go. When they first put that out there, nobody was really that receptive to it. People tore it down, but over the years, they have built upon that and created a product that a lot of people agree with. Now, the issue with this is, the live scoring is not new. They're not going to roll out a product that we didn't already have. We had it, and we had it good. Udisc Live really handled that well. So this is going to be something that could be taken away from the fans. And if we've got to go through the first events of the season with a broken platform that isn't fun to navigate and it's tough to track disc golf, it's not going to look good for them. So that's going to be very, very interesting to track. And I think a lot of people are going to be kind of looking with bated breath to see what are we dealing with when we get into the season. Now, like I said, I think that as time goes on, this is probably a smart move for the Pro Tour. Obviously, you want to kind of own, I mean, your stats and your results, like that is the tour. Like that is what has happened on your tour. You want to own that and be in front of that. Personally, I thought it was more likely to see something like a Udisc buyout in the future. Like it seemed like Udisc and the Pro Tour were so closely integrated, like they had become one. Because think about it, you don't just see Udisc via checking the scores on your computer or your phone. They're integrated into a lot of graphics on the Pro Tour presentation. On the live stream, you're seeing them in the in like the course previews. A lot of those are like presented by Udisc. They're the ones bringing that data. So this is definitely going to be a huge loss of visibility for the Udisc brand. And it's just going to be interesting because they were just one and the same, it seemed like. So yeah, as far as Udisc moving forward, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what direction they go. The good news is what Udisc is making the majority of their money off of, or really all of it. I mean, I'm sure their ad revenue was decent, but they're making a lot of their money off their membership fees. They did just double their membership fee at the beginning of this year. I think we can all see why now. And I think, honestly, they actually maybe should have timed that differently, because I think they'll have sympathy now with the doubled price. I certainly at least people will understand it now as to why they did that. But ultimately, people are still going to use them to keep their scores and use at their local course. So they're not going to lose a lot there. But like I said, the visibility they're going to lose. And also, we don't know, maybe they were getting a nice fee paid to them to be a part of the Pro Tour and do work with the Pro Tour. Maybe that was a big part of the Pro Tour's decision. I think it's no secret they've been looking for ways to kind of cut down on their expenses. Disc golf had an interesting year last year financially. So that could be a part of the equation. There are definitely a lot of questions here. But yeah, if you want to look more into it, you can look on both of their accounts. I'm sure the Pro Tour will be releasing this press release. You're going to start seeing it in more places here. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what we get at the beginning of the season. Throwing out an unpolished stats and scores apps, because that's essentially their new platforms we call DGPT Scores and Stats, powered by PDGA Live with statistics and analytics developed by Statmando. And yeah, I mean, that sentence right there, it's scary, because basically they're presenting is the idea that Statmando is going to bring the stats and analytics, something that they do already, but then PDGA Live is fronting the app. And are they bringing on a design team? What is this thing going to look like? I don't know. They're taking a risk here, and it's going to be very interesting to see, when we first open that thing up, what it looks like. I think for the future, there's a chance this could pay off, but it is certainly going to be met with a lot of pushback, just because of how well people have received Udisc over the years and how refined their platform has become. So let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about this move? Do you see both sides of the equation? Are you firmly against it, or are you kind of looking towards the bright side? Personally, I'm a little scared just based on the fact that PDGA Live is backing the new platform. I get their strategy, and I'm behind the idea of their strategy. I'm a little bummed out for the Udisc guys, because I think they have a really awesome program, but I think they're going to do just fine in the niche of scorekeeping, just kind of on a local basis. I think they'll still do fine there. But yeah, I can see the strategy the Pro Tour is taking, and I agree with a lot of it, but it is definitely going to depend. You cannot sacrifice an entire season of a terrible scorekeeping and stats app if that's what this is going to cost. That the Pro Tour can't be blowing a tire essentially when it's trying to gain momentum in that way. So it will be fascinating to see what they roll out. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think about this news. I think it is some huge news for the season that we did not expect to get. So it'll be fascinating, and we'll talk more about it next Monday on Grip Locked.